Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reading Between the Lines. Today we have a special guest on our episode. We are going to be talking to her about her books, about her author career, and just other fun things. You know what happens. We go all over the place. So welcome. We have EJ Lindell on with us today. See, I messed it up. I do it every time. Anyways, but I'm going to keep it in because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Anyways, listeners, you know I just messed that up, but it's fine. Welcome to Reading Between the Lines. EJ, we are so glad to have you on. I'm really excited to talk about all things writing and reading and all that fun stuff. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Okay, this is Reading Between the Lines. We're both emotionally unstable, but that's okay because we're doing it together. So go team. I feel like we've had so many people on recently, and it just like makes these episodes so much more fun because sometimes we're just with the debates that Emma and I have done recently, I feel like we needed some relief. Okay.
Nice.
So it's nice to have people on. And so we're very excited to have you on. So first things first, just kind of tell our listeners who you are, maybe a little bit about your books or how you became an author, all that fun stuff.
Oh, it's always the nitty gritty that comes in right away. So so I write under a pen name. Obviously, it's not a very inventive pen name by any stretch of the matter, but because I'm not very inventive that way. But so I write dark romantic fantasies. I've been schooled on this. So it's not a dark fantasy romance, which is kind of how I thought about it. But no, it's dark romantic fantasies, but they're epic. So thinking like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, that type of structure to them, but they're written in multiple POV. I love to write love, and my stories are all very centered on insta love because I've experienced that. And I like to think that I write love scenes very well, and that insta love trope is like my most favorite thing ever. And I've done this for close to almost 2 years now. I actually did it because I had a major surgery and I was stuck on my couch for way longer than what I was supposed to, and I hammered out 5 books and got them ready to go. And my first year of being an author was launching 5 books, all pretty much one after the other, which is insanity. I do not recommend that at all. Now I'm in a little bit of a better pacing, so I've released 6 books at this point, and I have 2 more on the way for next year, which one of them is a continuation of my first 6 that I've done, and then the last one that's coming out is a witchy book, which I'm super excited about.
Is that one going to be a standalone, the witching one?
No, it's a duology. So it was originally going to be a standalone, and then I had a secondary character decide to go on an adventure, which meant I had to tie that one up. So it's always fun when things start coming out in your brain and you're writing, and then you're having a discussion with the character, and then they start side questing, and you're like, no, you're supposed to be over here, and no, that's okay. We're following you then.
That's super cool. So explain to us, because I don't fully understand, because I'm going to be completely honest with you. I haven't read your books yet, which I want to, and I need to order them. It's literally on my list of things to do. But what does your first series look like? Is it those 6 books, or is it 2 different trilogies? Like, how does it kind of break down?
It is 5 books for the Soulbinding Chronicles. So it starts off with our main character, Annika, who is in Canada, actually. So I did start it in Canada. And then she goes on an adventure to Scotland, which is kind of what I would like to do. So I may have written a little bit about that. And then she gets whisked off to this realm that she doesn't know anything about, but finds out that it's actually her home. So kind of that trope that everybody usually does for fantasies. So there's 5 books to that. And basically it is usually 2 couples that get together in each book series, and it kind of starts to center on them. There is a little bit of a theme in there where there's like a darkness that keeps playing in there, mostly towards the tail end of book 1, but then really gets really heavy. So there are some triggers to be considerate of, depending on what your triggers are for the books. A lot of it was healing when I was writing it, which was good. And then Heirs of Darkness came out, was supposed to be a standalone, ended up becoming a trilogy because it was so darn good. And people who read Heirs of Darkness wanted to know more about the 2 of the characters, Ramil and Naomi, that were in the beginning of the book that I just kind of did snippets about. They wanted their story, which I knew was going to be a traumatizingly delicious sad story, which now became Crowns of Darkness, which is coming out next year. It was a super hard book to write, and I'm still very upset about it, which is kind of horrible, but because I'm a fan, like one of my taglines is always like, may all of your books be happily ever afters. And I'm writing this book and I'm like, I don't like where this is going. So it was a very difficult one to do. But yeah, so that's essentially those books. And then I've got the separate one, The Weaver's Vow, which is completely different. It's not in a fantasy realm. It's on Earth, and it's basically a weaver witch, and well, sort of on Earth, there's the god of the underworld. So it's basically the I'll find you in every lifetime Hades and Persephone kind of spin-off, which I'm really excited to get that one out next year.
I am someone who's like, I want every book to have a happy ending. I want every single character to have a happy ending. Alexis doesn't necessarily agree. Like, she's like the main couple and that's it. I'm like, no, like these 10 side characters, they all have to have happy endings. You don't get it.
Whoa. Don't go there. We're not going there. The point is that life happens and you have to accept that life happens. I just did the bubble thing just happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like, oh, I love that.
Life happens, Emma. We've talked about this.
But we read to escape life, so it doesn't have to be like.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have the emotions that we have if it wasn't because we were traumatized by some book.
God, I love
so traumatizing, and I kind of love that for me. So,
well, yeah, but I also love a happy ending.
I know
I think if they're good characters, I think that's part of the thing too, right? Is if they're like a really shitty character, like you really want it. Now, you don't deserve a happy ending, and you can just, go away. Like that, absolutely. Like the bad person does have to have like some type of something at the end. But yeah, I struggle with not writing happy endings. Like they usually, and I tried so hard with a couple of them, and I was like, nope, I need some snippet of joy here.
I feel like that's like the hard part of, okay, wait, I'm going to say it wrong. Dark fantasy romance? No.
Dark romantic fantasy. So okay. I learned that if you rate, how did they do it? If you rate a fantasy book with secondary romance in it, it's a dark romantic fantasy. But if you rate a dark romantic book with fantasy in it, it's switched. And I think that's how the romantasy thing came in, is it is a fantasy romance, but the way that they use it in the publishing world is flipped. So this whole time I've been like, oh, I write dark fantasy romances. No, I don't. I write dark romantic fantasies, and I have to keep reminding myself because I've been for a whole year marketing it wrong, which has been ridiculous. So it's been fun.
I feel like I would not be able to remember that at all.
But I would just see like fantasy and romance and be like, great, like dark fantasy romance. Okay, doesn't matter what order they're in.
Exactly. Picky though. People get super picky, and especially when you're trying to market it, or if you're trying to go like through traditional publishing and stuff like that, you want to make sure when you're doing like your query letters and stuff that you actually have it in the right genre. Otherwise, they'll just kick it. So it's something that people have to think about. It's hard to navigate some of it, and when you find like a good group of authors that can help you get through a lot of it without just muddling on your own, because it's definitely not an island thing to do at all. So yeah, that was definitely a learning curve.
So did you do traditional publishing, or are you an indie author?
I am an indie author through and through. I do it all. That's a lie. I have a PR girl who I adore to pieces, Pooja. She runs Epica Book PR. She does all of my Instagram posting. Well, she told me I'm no longer allowed to post on Instagram without her say so, because I'm wrecking her carousel look, I think, that she's trying to do. So I'm not allowed to post on there anymore. So she looks after my Facebook and my Instagram, and she looks after my ARC reading, which is fantastic because it takes a lot of load off of me. And then I have an amazing PR team that helps with helping launch any of the projects that I do through Kickstarter, or helping promote some of the stuff that I have going on. And then obviously I have narrators that help me, and I have artists that I've collected like Pokemon. So there's like a whole group of people. Like I am an indie author, but there's a huge amount of people that are working with me to help make my books a success.
That's awesome. I feel like that's been a common thing too when we've talked, because we've talked to a lot of indie authors. That's what they say is like, yeah, you're doing it by yourself, but you're really not doing it by yourself. Like it does take a village, and that village is going to be like what helps you get through all of it. And so I think that's super awesome that you have the people in your corner to definitely help you with that. And we've heard that traditional publishing, based on what we've heard, is not the way to go about it if you really want. Like it for some people it works and it's amazing, but for some people, aka would be me, who wants to have control over it.
Yeah.
Indie author, being an indie author is the way to go about it. So
that's what I've heard too. Like I wouldn't mind like sometimes when I get really tired, because it does become, it's a business, right? Like, and a lot of people who write books don't realize that going into it, that being an author is a business. It's not, you're not an author just to write the books. That's a whole different thing. It's a business and you're running it. And there's some days I look and I'm like, I don't want to go on TikTok and post something again. And then I got to think about things. And then it's like, oh, I got to do marketing. And oh my God, I got to do this. And no, I got to check Amazon. And it's all those other things. And it gets tiring, right? And there's some days, yeah, I would love for a traditional publisher to scoop me up and just, here you go. Like, I'll make you relax now. But yeah, it's, I also have control issues though, right? I do all of my own covers. I am very specific about the artwork when I get it done. I love the control, which is terrible because usually I'm a pretty big hippie and I don't care in my day-to-day life about things and I just flow. But when it comes to the author things, it's very, there's an image that I want to do with it and there's a theme that I want to do, and it's usually like unhinged chaos half the time. As much as I want to try and look like I've got my crap together, I do not. So, and people enjoy it, right? They like the nitty and I think that's something maybe too that you might lose in the traditional publishing, is that control that you have over the story itself, and how you want things to look, depending, I think, on who grabs the book. I don't know a lot though about that.
Yeah, I don't know much about traditional publishing, and obviously we've only had indie authors on, so we can only talk about what they said. I wanted to get back to like the writing part of it, and I want to know, why did you choose to write this genre?
God, my mother is not here because she'd have stories. So I was that kid so I grew up in like the middle of nowhere. I was the only kid in this town and probably the other surrounding towns within like a 80-90 kilometer radius that had hearing aids when I was little. So I was very much by myself. I had friends and stuff, but so I dressed up. I read all the books. I think one of the first memories I can remember of some type of grounding was my parents actually dismantled my bookshelf and took all of my books out. That was the only way that they could figure out to ground me, because that was my escape. So I grew up with like R.L. Stine. I did Little House on the Prairie, like everything that I could get my hands on. I think I read 3/4 of the books in the bookshelf at the library and at the school. So it was just an escape for me, right? So I've had stories in my head since however long I can remember, just haven't had the opportunity to write it down. It never intended to be dark. I never intended it to be, because I'm usually a very light and happy person, but life experiences, right? And, you know, sometimes that becomes a very cheap form of therapy with writing, which turned into like this whole series and whole author journey. It was literally, it's been a therapeutic ride for me and getting stuff out and processing. I tried to write a cozy romance. It went downhill very quick.
That's so interesting, because I feel like, okay, this is maybe just me being psychological for a second, but I feel like based on what we've talked about with other authors and with just what you were talking about, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, listeners, you can be mad at me for saying it again, but I'm going to say it again. But for authors, writing is their therapy. And so it seems like with your writing process, and we can talk more about it too, is it seems like there were things that were internally you were battling, and so that's how it came out, and now you have 6 books or more coming out, or still in your brain that, you know, like I'm sure you've got a lot more books that you're thinking about coming out. So it's just so crazy to me. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's this stigma sometimes about authors and readers too. And it's like, no, like this is how we heal.
It's essentially that whole thing where like they say, like, don't piss an author off because they'll just write you in the story and get rid of you. I'm like, yeah, I might have done that to some characters for sure, and I know who they are in real life, and it felt good. But then that cracks me up too, because I usually tell people it's a fantasy, like nothing in it's actually real. Well, maybe there's some nuances of people's attitudes or how those characters have been written that, yeah, you might be like, was that me? Maybe. There's a disclaimer that you write. You write it in the beginning of the book that, if you think you're that character, well, that's just a coincidence. So too bad for you. You do that disclaimer, and that is how you get away with doing that. So you could totally rate somebody, and as long as you've got that disclaimer and they cannot factually prove that it's them, then I think you're pretty good to go.
I think that's a genius. I think you should publish them.
Only published because my best friend read my first book and then said, well, where's the rest of it? And then I was like, oh, I have more. And then she's like, well, and then what? And then she goes, well, you're going to do something with it, right? And I was like, well, I guess. And then I just kind of blind published on Amazon, didn't tell anybody, which I don't do that. If you're ever going to do a book, you need to make sure you have a sound marketing strategy to put the book out in the world, not just be like, hit the publish button and then sit there and hope to God somebody finds it, because they won't. And that doesn't do your book or yourself justice either, right? But yeah, essentially, somebody told me to do it and I just went, okay, I can do that. It's like, that works.
That's super awesome. I mean, I'm sure now looking back, you're grateful that you did.
Yeah,
instead of just having it there.
Yeah, it's been a great journey, and I've met so many amazing human beings this whole time that I may have never met before had I not done what I've done. It's been great the entire time. I do not have a negative experience to touch on at all, which is nice, because there are a lot of authors that do have a lot of negative things that happen, but I've been happy with how everything's progressed.
One thing that I always want to know, especially because Emma and I are both writers as well, not published authors.
We'll get there eventually.
Very nice.
Cool. We always kind of want to ask, like, what has been the biggest challenge when it comes to writing and or publishing, and what's been the biggest success? What's been like your biggest success in publishing and or writing?
That's a good question. So that's a really good question, actually. I think, so I have no problem with stories. I'm good at doing stories, and I can usually spin something together really well. I think my issue is making sure that I have proper editing, and that's a full disclosure. I've had to go to different editors because we're all human and we make mistakes. And I think sometimes maybe that's the biggest challenge is I'm a perfectionist. I'm going to rephrase that. I am a perfectionist, and knowing that there are possibly mistakes in my books drives me insane. But at the end of the day, knowing that we're also human, I think kind of lets people soften up a little bit to knowing that there may be spelling mistakes in a book and that it is okay. There are famous authors that have spelling mistakes in their book, yet we put ourselves through the ringer trying to make sure that there isn't anything, which I don't think is okay either. My biggest success, though, I think, is just finding the people that love my books and actually want to promote my books. The beta team that I have is some of, I think, the most amazing human beings that I talk about everybody. They're just amazing. But like I have this amazing beta group that I could not survive without. I haven't met most of them, and they are the kindest human beings. They will jump when I throw a book at them. They will read it. They will help edit it. They'll help me with grammar and everything before I send it off to an editor. They give their lives to helping a lot of other indie authors as well. I think the biggest success is a shared success for me, and that's ensuring that we've all got some form of success in it. And I think just making sure that everybody that's in the same journey as me has that as well. Like, I love promoting other indie authors, and I will shout to the rooftops about my narrator, and I will yell about my artists, and just making sure that they all share in that success. Because to me, we're not an island, and we're only going to do as well as the next person beside us. So probably not a very good way for me to be making money all the time, but it's I can't do it without the people around me, and their success is my success. So
yeah, one of my favorite things about the book community, whether you're just reading or writing, like, we're so supportive. And I always see TikToks that's like, oh, I follow everyone that has an author name or like a book emoji or something, because they just want to support each other. And that's one of the things I love about supporting indie authors, reading their books, you know, all the things. I just, yeah.
It's fun. It's a good community.
Yeah, for sure. That's like one of the reasons why we love doing this so much is in having people on. I mean, Emma and I are pretty cool, but we get to a point where we get a little sick of each other sometimes. So it's fun to have other people on. But more importantly, I mean, we just love being able to support you guys because we hope to be you eventually down the road in our own lives. So, and you're doing the things that we aspire to do. And so it's just really cool. And like you said, I mean, your successes are our successes and vice versa. And we want to support you in that. And so, I mean, it's super cool. Like you said, Emma, like, the community, which you would think wouldn't be as supportive, just knowing how people are, but it actually is such a like loving community, and that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Full disclosure, though, I dye my hair, otherwise you'd see all the grays from this thing. So, you know, they're all hidden from this journey.
That's I'm sure there's been a lot of late nights trying to write books.
Oh yeah,
and
always.
I feel like, I mean, have you had experiences where you're like trying to go to bed, but then you're like thinking about this one scene and then you have to get up and go write it? I do that all the time, actually.
So my note app on my phone is full of stuff. I do a fair bit of traveling throughout the week too with my day job, and I will turn on the talk to text and just talk for like the 3 hours of driving. So there's also that. Trying to make sure that I don't forget is a big thing because I'm also perimenopausal, and every thought that I have just kind of before I can even write it down, which is that note app is really nice to have.
I do the like voice memo thing, and then I go back and listen to it. And I'm like, wait, what was I trying to say? But I know what I was trying to say, but I'm like, why did I say it like that? Like, what?
Well, a lot of times when I'm driving, I think of like a full on scene, dialogue, everything. And I'm like, wait, is that like normal for my brain to work like that? Like, I'm like thinking of like motions, dialogue, all the things. And then the moment I park, before I even get out of my car, I type it all up before I forget it.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's normal. I'm going to say it's
More specifically for your book, Heirs of Darkness, is that the most recent one that you've released?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Could you talk about like the main characteristics of the FMC, MMC, or any side characters you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I write in multiple POVs. So I usually warn people that there's no main character. They're all main characters. They're all jockeying for position. So the story kind of converges probably I'd say 45% of the way through to what people would consider the actual FMC and the MMC. So we have Arya, who is from one of the clans, so she has fire magic, and Tayan, who has come back to the land where they are on. Trying to make sure I'm not spoiling anything when I'm going to be talking about this. So he is a morally gray, who did this to you type person, but he's out for revenge. And it says in there kind of essentially what happens is that like when all he sees is the darkness, she helps him see the light. So she's a very like, you know, we've got to do better, like you need to do better. And he's very much like, no, I need to kill everyone. They all need to die. Like they've done wrong things, but you know, I've also done wrong things, but they've done wronger things essentially. And then she kind of stops him from basically destroying their entire world. But he sees her at one point and she's asleep and he falls in love with her. And she doesn't know. So it's a very much very cute-ish story. It's dark still, but that's kind of the 45% mark, I'd say, of Heirs of Darkness is when those two see each other and get together. But it's very much like enemies to lovers. They have some very enemy moments, and he is doing all he can to fight his insta love for her, and it is not working. So it's a really, really good read, I think. He's got wings. It's also an important thing. So he's an Nephilium, so he's got like the big angel wings, which has been an adventure to get people to draw. So
I feel like that's a microtrope that I've recently seen a lot of people talk about, but like before that, like a lot of people don't mention it, but it's one of my favorites. Like in the Sarah J. Maas books, like that's a thing, and I'm like, yeah, we need more of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like there was like a whole generation, like I'm probably a little bit older than you girls, and I always giggle because we used to be in love with like angels. There was like the whole angel thing happening. What the heck was that? There's a show. about angels, and we were just in love with them. Like, they were just everything. They were amazing. And then now we're just kind of like bringing back these winged people, and I'm like, oh no, this is like a whole flashback of like how I grew up. And I'm like, oh, we all love winged beings again. All right.
Yes, but morally gray.
Yes.
Yeah, the morally gray. Always the morally gray. My goodness, those poor good guys just don't have a chance.
No.
No.
We need the morally gray little shadow maybe somehow in there. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's always good.
So I mean, unless this is a spoil, but who was your favorite character to write?
So no, it's not a spoiler at all because I put the poor guy through hell. So that would be Sylvan, actually. So he hasn't been mentioned at all. He's in the Soulbinding Chronicles. My couple of my beta readers just thought I was the most awful human being ever because I put him through hell. But he is one of my favorite characters to write. He's a very morally upstanding, like, duty over desire, but he still ends up with his happy ever after in the Soulbinding Chronicles. But he was probably one of my favorite to write just because he was so morally upstanding, and he's not morally gray, right? And I love morally gray, but I think there's just something so wholesome about him and about how he worked so hard to protect the people that he loved and put himself in the line of fire to protect them, that there's kind of like that knight in shining armor kind of type thing that women love. But yeah, he was probably my favorite. There's a couple of other ones, but he would be my top one.
Was he also the most difficult to write then?
No, actually he wasn't.
Okay.
He was easy to write.
I feel like most people say that either the main character or the main guy is the hardest to write. For me, it's the side characters because I don't care about them as much. But
You can't say that about your own book. You're supposed to.
don't. Okay, that's not what I do. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, you did stupid things. I don't like you anymore.
Yeah, usually those you just get rid of after that. If they've done stupid stuff and they're just not listening, they need to fall off a cliff somewhere. So yeah.
Exactly. See, Emma, they can fall off a cliff and it's okay.
Yeah. You just have to remember not to bring them back in another book if you've forgotten that you took them off a cliff. So
Or don't bring back the most hated character.
yeah.
We're not getting into this again. We're not getting into this again. I won that argument, okay? Plus, also, we're not going to talk about Fourth Wing right now. We're
I
not.
haven't read it yet.
Okay, so we're definitely not talking about it then.
Yeah. I mean, you can give me all the spoilers. I'll just probably forget about them by the time we're done talking. So
Emma and I have had a heated debate about two of the characters. Neither of them are the MMC. But we've had a heated debate on which one we want to have.
They were like the most hated characters, and we were debating which one we liked the most.
yeah.
Which one we want to have like either a redemption arc or a book about, or learn more about them. And it got pretty heated. So
okay. I mean, I kind of giggle because, books are just supposed to be this enjoyment, and the amount of upset some people go through with some of them is kind of a little entertaining.
that's why we have this podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, is part of the reason is because we were talking about something, and then we got into a huge debate about book boys, and then here we are. So
hey, that's how that works then, right? Meant to be.
Yeah. It is how it works. That's what our friendship is based off of. But it's great. You can talk about whatever series or book that you want, whichever one you feel more would help you answer this question better. But where did the idea come from? Or you can talk about all of them if you really want. But did it just spark up one day? Was it just back of your head forever about these certain series? Or this now, you said it's not a standalone, it's a duology?
So yeah, the witchy one is a duology. Heirs of Darkness is a trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know about either or both of where you got the idea for those.
Okay. Well, I could probably answer both if you want. So essentially, Heirs of Darkness, I think, happened because after writing the Soulbinding Chronicles and having that story, not everybody, there was a few people that really loved the morally black character Ramil in it. And I felt like there had to be a continuation of a story to add into there to kind of give a future look of the world. And I don't know if it's a mix between just reading so many fantasy books and watching so many fantasy shows. Like my soulmate always laughs because the amount of entertained I get when I turn on like Lord of the Rings and I am captivated, like literally captivated. Like there could be chaos going around behind me and I am focused, and he just laughs because I'm his little nerd because he is not. So there's always that, right? So I don't know if it's because of just having myself immersed in that world that it's easy to start and create your own characters based on things like that. So it kind of just was a brainchild, I'm going to say, but I don't think anybody ever really has an original idea anymore. And there's also that I always think about that because I'm like, if I thought of it, somebody else probably did as well. But yeah, it was just, the story just came in. I'm also a pantser. So when I write, I just write, and whatever happens, happens. And hopefully it just all makes sense at the end. That's usually what I beg my characters to do, is to just make it make sense. Because if I have to rewrite this, I'm going to be just choked. And the Weaver's Vow, I love witch stuff as well. Like I love witchy stuff, period. I think one of my favorite book series is Discovery of Witches. I have read that book series until I've almost accidentally dog-eared the books, which I don't like doing. And I've watched the shows so many times I could probably recite it by heart. And essentially what had happened was I came across that whole, I think they were using it as like a threat that I'll find you in every lifetime, but as a threat. And essentially like, you know, this woman being killed off in the past and then coming back and finding the guy who had been reborn and like offing him as well. That is not how my story goes, because I tried to get it to that point and it decided to go a whole other way. But I think a lot of that too is just once you start writing and you get in your head and things just start coming out that sometimes you're not even aware that you're just holding on to. But yeah, definitely pantsing is a really nice way of writing for some people.
I feel like even if an author tries to plan it, like they're not going to stick to that. Like the characters will do what the characters will do, and you're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah, 100%.
So how long does it normally take you to write a book? You said you wrote how many books in a year, so...
It depends on how busy I am. So I am an insanely busy person without giving away too much of my personal life. I share with some people, but I am a herbalist and I have a full-time job and I have a side business as well that deals with the herbalism stuff. So it depends on the type of season that I'm in, right? So if I can get into a really good mode and nobody's bugging me, I can hammer out a lot in one sitting. And then there's sometimes like right now I have writer's block. So I haven't really touched anything, which thank God, because my 2 books are ready to go for next year. And then I have like a year to finish my other 2, which is good. It's a slower pace, which I'm happier with as well. I don't feel as much stress. Not that I felt stress with the 5 books because I was just sitting there typing because I wasn't allowed to do anything else. But yeah, it all really honestly depends on life, really.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like it kind of depends, like what we were talking about earlier, just like when the ideas kind of come into your brain, like, and I've been told, which I don't know if this is true or not, but at the same time, I could see it being true. Like you're saying, you have writer's block. Me too. But I've been told that you can write yourself out of writer's block. But that idea in itself stresses me out.
I think maybe it depends on the person too. Like I won't, if I know that I have writer's block, I won't bother. That's the perfect opportunity for me to read other books and just disassociate for a little bit and pull myself out of that funk without getting frustrated with myself. Because I think because I'm not a planner of a writer to begin with. So I think if I tried to write myself out of it, I'd probably be equally frustrated and mad at myself for literally feeling like a failure, even though it's just writer's block. So yeah, I tend to just walk away and I'll read books and I will watch movies and I will go for a walk and then eventually it'll come back. And again, the timeline is with myself, not with, you know, a publisher or anything like that. So I'm never really that worried. And I know my readers will hang out and wait. So I'm at an advantage with that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's an awesome thing too, is like, there's not that added pressure and it still can be your thing. And that, I think that's how it should be.
Yes, I agree, because I think the best books come from people who want to write it from the heart and not feel like there's a stressful deadline on it, because then that just takes all the fun out of it. It's supposed to be art and it's supposed to be something that's meaningful. And if you're just hammering stuff out for the sake of hammering it out because you feel like you have to, I think you start to lose parts of yourself.
Totally. I definitely agree with that.
When I wrote like a few books previous to the one I'm currently working on, like my mindset was I have to like get these published. I have to like start like marketing like right away and stuff. And it was like stressful. And now this time around, I'm like, I'm just going to write when I want to write and we'll just see what happens. And it's such a more enjoyable experience.
And the book might go a different way too, right? If you're not stressed out and not feeling a pinch of a deadline or something like that, or expectations, then it just makes it easier. It makes your content easier too when you go to show it off. And yeah, I like relaxed.
Agree. I feel like that, especially because it should be therapy or it should be therapeutic for us or for you. And so if you're putting pressure and stress on that, then that takes away the whole point. So, which I totally, why shouldn't it be relaxed? That only makes sense. So
yeah, 100%.
But on that note, I don't want to stress you out, but do you have other ideas in the line a couple of years down the road? Or do you think after this duology is done, do you think you'll take a break, or have you not even thought about that?
So if my best friend was here, she'd tell me bullshit. But I said after I was done the trilogy and I was done the duology, I was going to just see where it took me. I feel like I might be running out of ideas, but also it's only because I've written everything that's in my head right now, right? And I haven't, because I still have 2 more books that I have to put out, and I try not to think so far ahead that I'm scrambling to write the ideas down without forgetting them or having them make sense. I don't know if I will ever be done writing. Whether or not they'll be published is a whole other thing. We'll see. But I don't know. I honestly don't even know.
I think that's the best way to go about it. I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
I do want to ask you, and I know Emma does too, wants to ask you questions about reading, not just writing. And so what we're going to ask is, I mean, if we won't spoil anything if we're talking about books that you haven't read yet, but what is your favorite trope?
Oh, so I honestly will fall for an insta-love trope, like so bad. I'm insta-loving the insta-loving trope. Probably insta-love, and I think it's probably more of a micro trope maybe with the found family. Having that connection, like, you know, usually they have no one and then they find someone, because most of my family is found family. So I usually kind of really fall for those. I love, this is going to sound funny because I don't talk about my soulmate very often because he's a private person. Although he did promise, and now this is going to be on a podcast, he did promise that he was going to dress up for me for a video for me to showcase one of my books, which I'm very excited about. So now he really can't back out of it.
Oh, we're going to hold him to it.
I'm very excited for that. So I think that other one would be like the grumpy ex-sunshine one, or like the, I don't even know what the trope would be called, but like the who did this to you, or, you know, like the protective trope, like that one. Yeah, I like that one too.
Oh, we love the who did this to you.
Yes, very much.
Oh, we live for that.
Yes.
Sure. If the book has that, immediate 5 like
like
so
burn the world, who did this to you, who touched you, like yeah, hello.
Chef's kiss for sure.
Yeah.
Alexis, what would your favorite trope be? Enemies to lovers?
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
I have a favorite. That's the thing, because it depends on what book I'm reading. Like there are some books where, or like when I'm watching like Bridgerton, which I don't know if you've watched any Bridgerton, but
I've watched all of it.
friends to lovers, then to enemies to lovers. Loved that. I'm normally not a friends to lovers person, but I didn't like the enemies to lovers in Bridgerton.
Yeah.
But I love enemies to lovers when I read it.
Yeah.
And the who did this to you? I feel like that tracks, right?
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah.
But you probably didn't like the enemies to lovers in Bridgerton because it wasn't like fantasy. Right. Like if it's enemies to lovers, because some people market their books, it's like enemies to lovers, but it's really like dislike, like you slightly get annoyed with them to lovers. And I'm like, okay, but like if they haven't tried to kill each other, is it really enemies to lovers?
Yeah, it's just
blades. Everyone needs blades to each other's throats, enemies.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. So then what are your thoughts on like a bully romance then? In like a fantasy world versus like when they do it like in like the hockey romances and stuff like that.
I'm good with that because usually like there's like sometimes there's like a reason or like you find out like the MMC's backstory or something like okay, but I personally like love a good like playful bully and like I'll eat that up, like that's so good.
Okay.
That's your type of vibe
Yeah,
most of the time.
for sure. Yeah.
But Emma, what's your favorite trope? Because you always, I feel like you change it all the time on me.
It really depends on the genre because like fantasy, it's enemies to lovers, but in sports romances, like found family, I love that. And like the protectiveness in both of them, like, yeah, it really just depends on the genre.
That's what I thought. Yeah. We need to talk offline about your book boyfriend list because I was looking through, like, I listened to an episode of like, it was like 2 months ago, and your book boyfriend list is like wild. I was like, what? Who is she talking about? I think it's changed. I don't even know how because you haven't read any new books, but I'm just, well, you have, but like, that would impact.
I feel like I need to be part of this conversation now too, though.
let me just I have it in my notes. I have my book boyfriend list in my notes.
Okay, because in this when we were talking about it a couple months ago, you said that Castile Denier was your number one, and I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
No.
He got bumped up to like top tier.
Okay. I thought
Okay.
Cassian was your number one because you argue about him all the time.
Well, he's my number 2, so obviously I'm still gonna argue for him.
Or Cassian, he's not going to be okay with that.
I feel bad actually knocking him down. I always say that he's my favorite because he has been for like 2 years, but like I don't know. Okay, so
oh no, we do have a book about him.
Cassian, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Anyways, continue.
Okay, it's Castile Denier from Blood and Ash, Cassian from Akatar, Rhysand from Akatar, Xaden from Fourth Wing, Dorian from Throne of Glass, and Kai Azar from Powerless.
That's a solid list.
I think Dorian doesn't need to be on the list, but whatever.
Well, you don't like him because he's like, have you seen or read Throne of Glass?
Okay, people are going to come at me. I tried so hard. I got to the 5th book and I had to tap out. They're still sitting on my bookshelf. Maybe one day I'll be able to get into them. I don't know why I couldn't. I tried so hard though. So hard. I promise I tried.
Well,
They're
I feel like
hard books to get. Like the series is hard. It's not
it's like emotionally draining. Like I was exhausted afterwards and I was like didn't read for like a month after.
To smack Aelin. I don't know why, but I get it. She's not a grown-ass adult. I shouldn't be that angry at her, but I was like, get your crap together, girl. Like
I've never heard that before, but you're so right.
I tried. It's just like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I've never heard anybody say that, but you are so right because she did need to get her life together. Totally.
Yeah. I always see memes. I always see memes where people are like Rowan finding her just drunk on a rooftop, just like,
what are you doing? This is not the time.
It was such a random thing to put in there. Like so much had already been revealed, so much had to be revealed still, and she was just drinking on a rooftop.
It's like the exact same thing that happens when like, and it seems to be more so in fantasies where they're like in the middle of a battle, and that's the time. That's the time to lock eyes and decide that is the time. No shower, no brushing of teeth, nothing, like just now. Now is a good time. What? No.
I agree fully. Yeah.
So there's lots of baths in my books because I was icked out so much. There has to be.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Funny. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, okay. I'm okay with your book boyfriend list, Emma. I was just like, wait, what? Because I think you also, if I'm remembering correctly, I think you had
A second list?
Yeah.
Yeah, for non-fantasy.
Yeah.
There's too many of them. I had to separate the genres.
Too many. There's too many all the time. Too many. Too many.
I
Anyway,
still have that list. I'll keep adding.
okay, because you have to read one series that you will then add somebody because I added him to my list. You need to read the Plated Prisoner series. You have to.
Okay.
Have to. So good. Anyways, little plug for the Plated Prisoner series right there by Raven Kennedy. Anyways, we're off topic. That never happens ever.
Never.
Never happens.
I never assisted with that at all, did I?
It never happens. We're always on topic. Oh my. Talking about books that we read still. Is fantasy like your favorite genre, or do you prefer other genres?
So I like small town romance books. I do think they're cute. I enjoy them. I think I tend to try and make sure that when I'm reading, I'm just removing myself from anything that's too real, because life is already hard, and why am I reading about hard crap in another book? Although I say that, and then I'm thinking, wait a second, because one of my top books that I really enjoyed this year was Heavy by M.L. Burns, and it is like real life, but it's heavy. It's hence the name of the book. But that one was like a top read for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not a fantasy at all. I like biker romances, and yeah, so it's pretty diverse. I struggle with the hockey romances because I grew up in a small town. It just makes me want to throat punch them half the time, because some hockey guys are just mean, and I don't like it.
Emma and I've had this conversation. I can't do just normal sports romances, normal romances, because they're too real for me. Even though they're not real, they're too real to me.
Dating a professional athlete is just too real. It's just like my life for sure.
Too real.
But I will say, when it comes to sports romances, I don't read about sports that I watch on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I watch football and Formula One, and I never read about them at all. I read basketball, hockey, and baseball.
There's a question, actually, since you do read all of those. Is there any curling romances? And I'm just speaking from a Canadian. I just thought about that. Has anybody written anything about a curling romance, small town curling?
Probably.
I'm sure there's something. I've never seen one though, because I've never even seen the baseball ones. So
yeah,
I'm so far out of it.
Honestly, it was just part of a series. There's 2 in one series, and that's the amount I've read. But
I'm sure there definitely is. I'm sure maybe some of our listeners might know. So maybe they'll DM us or something.
Yeah, I'm interested now, because I would probably read that, because I used to curl all the time. It'd be probably a freaking hilarious book too, if there is one. So
that's an awesome thing to do. I have tried. It seems it's not easy. Not easy. Yeah, no. The romances, I can't. The sports romances, I can't. That's Emma's deal. So,
which is funny, because I don't think I'd ever want to date an athlete in real life, because I'm the ones I know, I'm you guys are all terrible. What are you doing?
You say that, yet I feel like we're gonna look back on this moment.
Oh, and I'm so proud to be part of it then.
We say every time we have somebody on, she says something where I'm we're gonna look back on this moment.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be wrong. I just have this feeling. I mean, I know you'd be fine with it, but the one last question that I have, which I don't know if Emma has more, because I'm also kind of asking some of her questions, because we shared a list, is, do you prefer physical books or ebooks or audiobooks when you're reading?
So audiobooks are a no, because I'm severely hard of hearing, and I've tried. So even with getting my audiobooks done, my best friend listens to them before they get done, or before they I check them off, because I struggle. So it has to be really, really clear for me to hear it, and I get really tired really quick when I have to listen, which yay. So I used to be a huge paperback. It had to be a certain size because I love reading just paper. Lately, because of how busy life is, it's easier for me to just grab my phone because I've got the Kindle app on it and I can just pull a book up. So I've gotten to the point now where if I really love a book, then it becomes a shelf trophy. And it looks like my books have never been read before, but they have, I promise. And so, yeah, so I have a lot of shelf trophies, but I do love reading physical books. Like they are my favorite. I think it just brings me back to the kind of that comfort and safety of being a kid and reading all those books under the blankets. And yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, we have lots of, I'm not in my, where all my bookshelves are. I have a lot of shelf trophies.
Well, I only have one behind me. I've got about 6 or 7 downstairs that are full. I have full plans before I leave this earth that I'm going to get an actual registered library, and then I'm going to leave it to my kids to figure out what the heck they're going to do with it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that for you. That is my goal in life, actually. So
yeah, I always see videos where people are like, tour my library. And I'm like, that's great for you.
Yeah.
I don't have that. So
Yeah.
That's part of our plan, actually.
a lot of plans.
Have a lot of plans, yes.
Do you have a favorite enemies to lovers ship from a book or a show?
That's a good question. Now I've got to think about like all the, I actually don't know if I do. There's a lot, obviously, because that's like a very common, oh, actually, that's a lie. I really love The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. That is beautiful enemies to lovers. Those books are like my Roman Empire. They all have kind of like an enemies to lovers trope in them. They are freaking fantastic books. And if you have not read them, I'm in her Sigur's Haven. Like I've got like the super fancy hardcover thing. Oh yeah, I get bookish boxes from her and everything. I worship the ground that woman writes on. Is yeah, beautiful books. Yeah, enemies to lovers. That would be the one. Probably The Ever King or the first or second. Yeah, all of them. All of them are good. They all have good enemies to lovers.
I read the first book, but I read it before the second one came out, so I'd have to like reread the first one to read the second one. Yeah,
the amount of, so like in between doing my writing of my books, I was reading her books as well, even though I was like high on pain meds. I'm glad I remembered most of it. I plowed through those books within like 5 days. I remember sitting there after I was done and I just looked at my soulmate and I was like, what do I do with my life now? Like it's over. And he was like, what's over? And I'm like, everything is over. And he was like, it's just a book. I was like, oh, it's not just a book. Like what happens to them? Like what goes on? Like what do they do when we're not reading? And I was just devastated. And he was just looking at me like, oh my goodness. But yeah, those are amazing.
That's how you know it's a good book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to read those. Those are on my list. And I keep pushing them off. But I think once I finish the one book that I'm reading right now, I think that might be next.
I highly recommend it. Like highly. Another really good one, it's not so much, well, it is kind of maybe a bit enemies to lovers, is As Above, So Below by D.M. Darcy. She's an indie author as well. There's a bit of enemies to lovers, but like that is a fantastic book. If you want to be like finishing it and then just look into the void afterwards and being like, what now? That's another good book to grab. I mean, I have a list like from here to Kingdom Come of indie authors I can recommend because I have my entire bookshelf here is full of them. So I love indie authors and I love supporting them. So yeah, there's some solid indie authors out there.
For sure. And we love looking into the abyss. That's like our favorite thing is looking into the void of time after we finish a book. That happens a lot.
And then you always have to make sure, and I don't know, like I know it's not just me as an author, but like if you read an indie author's book, like even while you're reading, if you want to message us and just, spiral in the comments or spiral in the message, that we eat that stuff up. Like I've got this whole thing. I saw it on TikTok. There was an author who anytime she hears from a reader that they cried, she actually has resin tears and she puts them in a jar. And I was like, I need to do this because even though I am like a nice human being in my normal life, I'm going to call it my author life, I am like a little gremlin like of evil where I wanted, did you cry? Did you cry? How hard did you cry? Like what wrecked you? Like I really need to know that. Meanwhile, real life, I'd be like, oh no, you cried? Are you okay? Like just terrible.
It's not terrible.
Yeah. Well, Alexis and I always say if a book doesn't make you cry, it's not a good book. Like we want the emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need the emotional ringer, and we need to be destroyed. And that is not good for our mental health, but at the same time, it is good for our mental health. So
You need a good cry once in a while.
Mhm.
or every week when we're reading a book, but it's fine. Live, laugh, cry. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, Emma, what is our would you rather today?
Okay, so would you rather read a nightmare scene between enemies or have one of them injured and the other taking care of them?
Probably the injured and taken care of.
I think that's probably what I'd do too.
Yeah.
No, I eat up those nightmare scenes. I eat those up.
Yeah.
Oh, I eat those up. I love them. I love the injured and taken care of, but the nightmare scenes, oh.
Yeah, but there's just something about an enemy taking care of their enemy.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking. I was just like, well, because, if I had an enemy and like, begrudgingly had to take care of them because, I had to, then that would be an interesting scene. But yeah.
Oh, I
Because
love
usually
them.
it's. Mhm.
I like knowing the deepest, darkest secrets of a character, and that's where you get to see them.
Totally. Yeah.
Anyways, EJ, please tell our readers where they can find, or our listeners, our listeners, where they can find your book so that they can then be your readers, is what I was trying to say.
Amazing, because I am always open to new readers. I have my PR team that's open usually all the time too, because I like new people. So I can be found on Amazon. I am on would be Chapters Indigo in Canada. And you can always reach out to me. And if I have copies, I can also sell those as well. But usually Amazon's where you'll find me.
Awesome. And then when are the next few books coming out? Do you have dates or months where they're coming out?
So we are doing Crowns of Darkness launching on a Kickstarter for a special edition. So it is super duper fancy. So that's on Kickstarter right now. And it should be out in June on Amazon of 2026. The Weaver's Vow is going to be on Kickstarter in May of 2026, and it'll be released around Halloween because it's a witchy book. And I just obviously had to be that basic. So
I mean, that would only make sense, right?
yeah, absolutely. So so there's options for like special editions. So there's hardcovers, paperbacks, full color, dust jackets, there's sprayed edges, there's all the really fancy stuff, or just plain black and white on Amazon where you're not spending more money. So I like to try and make sure everybody's got budgetary consideration for that. I selfishly do Kickstarters so I can get the special editions.
Anyways, well, this has been so much fun. EJ, thank you so much for joining us. And we just really appreciate all your wisdom when it comes to writing, but then also just being very transparent with us in your writing process. And so this has been so much fun. You are more than welcome to come back, especially when we read your books. I'm sure we'll have lots of comments. So
I would love that. That would be amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy, and you guys were my first podcast, so that's even better.
hopefully we didn't scare you off from other podcasts, because
It was amazing. I don't know, maybe you guys set the bar and nobody else will compare. Who knows, right?
I think we're pretty cool, but well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I don't even know what we're going to talk about next, so stay tuned for whatever we come up with, because we'll come up with something. But keep listening. Every other Wednesday we come out with episodes, but also please support all of these indie authors that we've been talking to. Find their books, purchase them, read them, give them all your feedback, because they would love that. So let's support the book community, support us, and then we have some hopefully exciting things coming up for you soon. So stay tuned on our Instagram and our TikTok.